Hello, everyone. I was previously doing a video a few minutes ago. However, some technical problems, and that video's live stream didn't went through, so I probably have to restart again. As you can see on the title today, I will be talking about the ethics of interpreting and translating, and this video will be based on the OSIT Code of Ethics and Professional Conduct. And OSIT it is the organization that actually sort of encompass or provide a like an authority for all translators and interpreters in Australia. They are the one who will be setting out all the best of practice, ethical and professional conduct sort of aspect of community translation and interpreting, and they will always update their requirements, and all translators and interpreters, such as myself, will have to refer to their newest version of um, OSIT uh, ethics and professional conduct. So today I will talk about them in a practical point of view. I'll give a brief explanation of all the principles, and then I will talk about how I may apply in everyday scenarios and see how, and I will tell you how important it is to observe these principles to, of course, avoid getting yourself into troubles and preserve professionalism. So to start with, rule number one, the principle number one of the OSIT Code of Conduct and Ethics, it is professional conduct. Okay, it starts by professional conduct. To sum up, this principle talks about honesty, integrity, and of course, and then asks you to be very objective and try not to, and do not exercise your power, which come from the imbalance of knowledge. Since you understand two languages, you understand the two parties, and the two parties trust you. So you have to be honest, and you need to, keep up your integrity. Now, how do you use it or apply it in everyday community interpreting scenario? Is once again, I'll go back to the example that I talked about a few weeks ago. In a business deal, such as that the house that was shown on the RMIT video, where a local Australian real estate agent, he is going to sell a perfect house in a perfect position, perfect the perfect style. It is really good, have great potential. And you, as the interpreter, you fully understood all the goodness of this building. However, your clients coming from overseas, they do not know anything about this area, this position, and anything. And now, by this scenario, you had this full power of understanding in both language and the information related to this piece of property. So, you as a professional, you need to be impartial. Okay, what you hear, you interpret. Do not try to copy off that example where you heard about this building is perfect, great potential, and whereas you want to buy it yourself, you try to use it to your advantage. You just tell your overseas clients that this building is going to collapse soon, it is dangerous, and we're trying to sell it as soon as possible because nobody wants to buy it. And eventually, once your overseas clients left, you go back to the vendor and the agency and say that you are interested in buying this property. This is what you call lacking of integrity. So this is an extreme case, right? There are cases where it's just very small things. This is especially true in business transactions. You have to be honest. Whatever you heard, do not pick side. If the overseas client, they are telling the truth, they're saying that, okay, I can't do this, or this price is too high or too low for me. You have to be honest and interpret exactly what you heard. And do not take it personally. Just say your client pisses you off. That your client, They promise to pay you maybe $100 per hour, but they are ended up paying you $70 and try to make your life difficult. It's okay to say no. You can always walk out. Okay, I understand you block out this period of time. Maybe it could be one day, could be half a day. You're feeling angry, but do not try to sabotage anyone. Okay, once you have this knowledge, once you get into a job, a task of interpreting or translating, you have to keep your integrity. Translate or interpret exactly what you hear, what you see, to the best of your abilities. Do not lie, do not twist, do not distort. So that's professional conduct. You have to be honest. You cannot abuse this imbalance of understanding and take it into your advantage. So this is very important because you might not think so, but both of your clients who could be speaking English or the non-English speakers, they are actually very vulnerable in front of you. They don't know what you say. They don't know what will you do. They are relying 100% on you, on being honest and be transparent and telling exactly what they say. So this is important. I understand, and I really think that it is good for Ozit to put this professional conduct and integrity on the top of the list because that is life or death. This is the meat on the bun. This is the important part. Integrity, integrity, integrity. This is what makes us different from any random bilingual speakers on the street. And now talk about the second one, which is related to integrity, is confidentialities. Believe it or not, there are so many cases, so many temptation out there that for an interpreter or a translator to breach these confidentialities. For example, someone is, he or she had family violence issues. This person could be within your communities. For me, I'm lucky. I interpret Mandarin, and the Chinese community in Australia is quite big. There are millions of Chinese in here. However, there are some languages that only has a very small community. I couldn't name, maybe somewhere like Malta, the Martians, only a few. Whenever there's a small community and when almost everyone knows each other, integrity, confidentiality is the key. When you are interpreting for anyone, no matter especially in the court, in a lawyer's office, in the hospital, you have the access to a lot of personal and confidential information. You will know whosoever is buying such a business, whosoever is getting into a legal trouble, someone maybe got into a murder case, someone is going to sell a house or try to purchase a building. You understand all this, and it is up to you. It is up to you to keep this level of confidentiality. Keep it to yourself. Whatever is talked about, whatever is in a conversation between two of clients, stay there. Once you walk out of this job, you forget about it. Do not try to gossip around. Do not tell anyone. Once again, it went back to last year when Mr. Gao, a famous Chinese actor, he was on trial for alleged sexual assault in Melbourne. And one of the interpreter who interpreted the court case on the trial leaked out what he heard, or maybe was it a she, whatever that interpreter heard on the court case. And this is very important. Breach of confidentiality, it actually distorts, the media, distorts what people talk about, distort the face, and it, procedurally speaking, it breached the procedure, breached the legal procedure requirements that it has to, the whole trial has to restart for procedural fairness. So confidentiality is important. Sometimes could be life-saving. If your client goes to a mental institute and he or she is asking for help for suicide prevention, and if you knew this person, despite the fact that you may be the friend of her parent or his family, you need to maintain confidentiality. By not doing so, you may just turn around and tell her or his parent about um, your clients being suicidal. This may cause extra problems. Maybe the parents or their family never knew about this suicidal tendency. They might go and speak to her and try to so-called convince him or her not to kill themselves, and this may exacerbate. She might the whole situation. Maybe she might think that, oh, I look so weak. I don't want anyone to know about me being suicidal, and this may lead to the other extreme. Your client might really ended up killing himself or herself at the end, and it all started by you breaching the confidentiality. And now we know there's social media, we're going online all the time. And it is very important for you to never, ever expose what you heard in a task, in a job online. Don't write a blog about, what you see or what you heard on a task today, on a job today, especially when you're exposing the names, the address, the date of birth of your clients. This is not only unprofessional, this could lead you into criminal charges. So confidentiality is key of all. And I will spend most of my time to reiterate again and again how important it is to maintain confidentiality for all interpreters and translators. And this is, of course, it could be you're translating a business contract. If you don't maintain confidentiality and you leak out maybe the bidding price, maybe the business plan of your client, and then once the competitor get the hold of it, they might just use that to their advantage, and your client who trusted you and pay you to translate their important and essential document may end up losing the business. And this could be serious, and it may lead to legal procedures. You might get sued. Your client may ask you for money and for compensation for whatever they lost. So, and of course, whenever you translate for any business case, usually your client will ask you to sign a confidentiality agreement, and you should never expose what you saw, what you read on the piece of document. So this is very important. Confidentiality is the key of all. And now, next, I will talk about competency. The principle of competency, I think, is very, very easy to understand. Is that you need to be certified or recognized as an interpreter or translator whenever you do this job. You don't have to be really worried about this when you are working for government or public organization. Hospitals, courts, police stations, lawyer's office, they will always, always, always ask for someone who is certified as a translator or interpreter, unless your community belongs to a very small, very uncommon language. In that case, a recognized bilingual may be used on this case. However, for major languages such as Mandarin, Spanish, Italian, Arabic, they will always ask you to accept a job or be a translator or interpreter only when you are competent. You truly went through the NATI test and got your accreditation, got your certification. And once you have this, you must prove yourself to be competent. So before you go and accept a job, you need to always try to ask for as much information from your agency, from your client as possible. Even private clients I usually ask them to give me a briefing or a synopsis of what their document is about. If I think it's getting too technical, it's getting too difficult, I will always, always turn down. Of course, if I have the time, like now during the pandemic, I have more than enough time to do the research and self-study, I may consider taking it. But there are so many things, not only the technical part. Sometimes documents from Taiwan or recording from Taiwan, Malaysia, when they speak in a dialectic Mandarin, or they use language and jargons that may not be applicable to where I come from, Guangdong, China, and I sometimes I may just choose not to touch it. This piece of document is something that I might not be able to do. This set of recording, or this client who speaks a dialectic language that may be similar to my language. However, if there's some local or specific language or jargon that involved, I might not be understand. So I should immediately tell myself that, okay, am I competent to take this job? If not, it's always best for you to turn down. It took me more than a year before I went on and interpret in court hearing case, because I was always worrying about my competency until I took several professional development courses from various universities. Then I could really, be confident about my competency before I went in, which proves to be a very smart choice. You should always be prepared before you accept any jobs. The next components, which I think is very relevant and related to professional conduct, is impartiality. This is sometimes could be the most difficult aspect of being an interpreter. Try to be impartial. I don't know about other languages, but as someone who interprets for Mandarin, most of my clients are from mainland China. And in mainland China, they talk about guanxi, which could be translated as connections and relationship, where they try to, whenever your clients or whoever sees you for the first time, they will always try to first establish a friendly relationship with you. And impartiality, as an interpreter, you should be, or you must be, impartial all the time. You're not picking side. You are neutral. No matter what you heard, no matter whoever says whatever, you need to neutral. You're not picking sides, especially in a legal scenario. You're not trying to help the accused to get out of the trouble. You're not trying to feel empathetic towards anyone, towards this poor, single mom, where you're trying to talk on her behalf or be her advocate. However, your clients would almost unintentionally always try to drag you to her side. Whenever you go to the hospital, whenever you go to the court, your client will come and sit with you. When before the procedure starts, before the appointment actually starts, your client will always talk to you. They will tell them, oh, let me tell you about my background. Oh, this is what happened to me. I went through family violence cases. I was bashed by my husband, and I'm sick. I'm sick with whatsoever conditions. I couldn't go to work because I had diarrhea, chronic diarrhea or chronic heart conditions. And they always try to tell you as much as they want. And first of all, it might look like that they try to make your life easy by giving you a introduction of what to expect, and you might go on your smartphone and check out a few lexicons. However, their real purpose, forgive me, all of them, they are actually up to the purpose of telling you from their perspective what the story is. And when you interpret, they will always try to sway you towards their side of the story. And whenever you're swayed, you put yourself in the risk of, breaking neutrality, breaking your impartialities. And be impartial and never pick side is possibly the second most important aspect of doing interpreting and translating in a community setting, just only after confidentialities. So when you pick side, when you try to, when you feel empathetic towards any side of your client, for example, on the telephone, interpreting case where your client is saying, I'm old, I'm poor, I don't want to pay for my bill. Whereas the operators from the utility company, They try to get the bill paid on top. They try to make sure all the policies are being respected, and they try to let the client know what the situation is, what the reality is, and they try to protect the interests of the company. And if you pick the side of the so-called weaker person, the elderly single mom who couldn't pay for the bill, it might affect you emotionally. And when you interpret, and you may not even realize the subtle choice of words and lexicon that may, you might, without you even noticing it, you are actually talking on the side of the weaker, the old elderly single mom, that saying that, whenever the single mom says something wrong, and oh, I didn't meant to do it, I didn't want to pay, you know, and you might wanted to pretend that you didn't hear it, or maybe you just reiterate, hey, excuse me, did you say that you don't want to pay at all? And the single mom may immediately pick up your signal and be reminded by you that she shouldn't say that. And this is where the whole situation will collapse, especially in the police situation. Of course, police always record what you say. But once you lost this impartiality, then this may cause a communication breakdown, or even though the communication continue, the purpose of the communication may break down too. So be impartial. Of course, the other way around. Whenever you saw a suspect arrested by the police and the police is taking the statement, you should never take the side of the police thinking that I'm helping out the police to sort out who the bad guy is. I remember when I first couple of times when I went to a police station to take a statement, I actually, without me realizing it, I said something like, okay, so we're on the same side. I'm helping you to try to get out, to discern what the bad guy is trying to do, or find out what exactly are the bad things that this suspect has done. The police officer actually reminded me that, no, you're not on my side. You are neutral. All you need to do is understand or listen to what both of us, the police and the suspect, were talking about, and interpret accurately to the best of your ability. So never pick side. Never think that you're working for justice. Never think that you're upholding justice for the needed. No, all you need to do is to understand and accurately interpret impartially that whatever you see, whatever you heard, you need to do it in a neutral aspect. So now, being neutral is important. However, no matter how neutral you are, if you interpret inaccurately, it defeats the purpose as well. So the next principle in the ethical part of OSIT Code of Conduct is accuracy. So there are three elements. Okay, the three elements are completeness, accuracy, and also you need to completeness and accuracy are the two parts. What is the meaning of completeness? This is my problem. Okay, omission. For example, if the client was talking about the date, the time, and the people who are involved in one event, you have to interpret the complete story. You can't just say, actually, there were three people: Thomas Smith, Joe Blow, and Amy Smith. And then you will say that, oh, there were three of them. They were Thomas Smith and Amy Smith, and you miss out Joe Blow. And that is the problem. That's lack of accuracy. Important information went missing. If a police was doing an investigation and asking who were there, and your client actually was honest about the people who were on the scene, and due to your lack of accuracy, you forgot your names, dates, and times, and that will, of course, causing a communication breakdown. And also, accuracy is very important, and you have to be complete. Accuracy, sometimes, especially when words are ambiguous, right? I heard that, for example, the word "mẫn," okay, or in Vietnamese "gỡ," and this actually could be the door, or could be sometimes it may refer to the gate. So you have to be accurate. Sometimes, if the police arrest this person at the gate and his or her collaborator is at the door, they might say the exact same word "gỡ" or "mẫn," and then no, and then you have to be accurate. Sometimes you might even want to clarify which one do you mean? What exactly are you talking about? All right, the word loaded, okay? It could be different meaning. The gun is loaded, the truck is loaded, and then you know, so it could be two different things. When you're translating the word loaded, you need to look at the context. What's before it, what's after it, what's the whole story. So when you translate, you have to make sure you are interpreting or translating, or in a way conveying the message in the accurate or the relevant scenario. You must understand the background, must understand what's behind it before you really go ahead, so that your client can truly grasp the accurate and complete message that the other party is talking about, so the communication can be maintained and avoid communication breakdown. And you should always, the next part is responsibilities. It sounds like a big word. You have to be responsible, right? To be honest, to narrow it down, being responsible is to make sure you provide good quality translation and interpreting service. Be responsible, always on top. This is particularly important in big road drive test case. Okay, big roads, they're running a very tight schedule. Okay, they will wait for you for 5 minutes, and if you went beyond the 5 minutes, they have to, forfeit the test. Your client could either take the test without an interpreter, or then the whole appointment could be cancelled, and your client have to come back. And given that how busy big road is, they might have to wait for a month or 2 months before they can take the drive test. And you must be responsible. You must understand that your clients expect you to come on time. Your clients respect you to go through the whole length of the booked period. If you're booked for 90 minutes, make sure you leave out enough time for the 90 minutes. There were so many cases that I heard from my colleagues. I don't want to name them. They assumed that this is a 90 minutes booking, and I knew from my past experience the appointment will only go for 45 to 60 minutes. And it's okay for me to accept another job within this, within the 90-minute period, plus the driving, the traffic. So sometimes, what if your client went beyond the 90 minutes? So you're being irresponsible. First of all, you either risk not able to finish your first job, or you might end up missing your next appointment. And no matter which way you choose, you are being irresponsible. So once you make a commitment to any job, you must stick to it. Once you accept a job from your agency that lasts for 1 hour, 2 hours, 90 minutes, half a day, you need to make yourself available. Okay, that happens to me sometimes. Sometimes it was by mistake. I didn't look at my diary properly. By the way, you should always have one diary like this available every year that has all the day of the week, and then you can always write down all your jobs on your schedule. What time does it start? What time does it finish? And write down the address. Always write down the address and go on Google Map and check out where exactly it is. Look into the street view to find out where it is, so you can arrive on time. So once you get into the job, you are responsible for finishing it. And you have to be ensure that your interpreting and translation is of the quality. You don't want to just, like some rumor I heard previously, just copy whatever. In a translation case, what I mean was, in a translation case where this so-called translator, which I assume that he or she had the certification as a professional translator, just copy whatever the clients was written and paste on Google Translate. And once they finish pasting on Google Translate, he or she will do the editing. And sometime this so-called translator may think that I only need to edit all the grammar. However, if you do that, you miss the context, you miss the deep meaning, you might miss the specific meaning that is applied to this particular client or your case. So you need to be responsible. You accept a job to be a professional translator. Once you got your document, you need to read through the document. You need to go through everything by your own hand and translate accordingly. I'm not saying that you shouldn't use, translation technology. You shouldn't be use online dictionary. Of course you can, but just down to the word level. Do not copy and paste the whole paragraph into a translation converter or software and then just adjust the grammar and fix here a little bit here, fix a little bit there. This is being irresponsible. Being a translator, you have to utilize your knowledge, utilize your professionalism, and finish the job properly by really truly translating the document that you understand, by really going into all the lexicons, going into all the context, going into all the specific requirement by your clients. So you have to be responsible. Next one, I think it is a sometimes controversial, but I think is a valid point that is listed in the OSIT Code of Conduct and Professional Ethic, which is professional development. What it means is that as a translator or interpreter, you have to make sure that your skills and knowledge is always up to date. To maintain this, you have to go through almost constant self-study and further development. You have to make sure you keep an eye on all the current news. You read about the most up-to-date journals. You have to go through all the extra trainings provided by universities, OSIT, NATI, private institutes, or your association, such as CITA, the Chinese Interpreters and Translators Association of Australia. They will always provide you with different aspects of professional development courses. The most recent one I made was in regarding to a distance interpreting and translating using technology, such as video conferencing. And these things I might not understand, all the different terminologies, all the different service provider. What is a server? What is the bandwidth? What is various different jargons that I had no idea what they are. And sometimes when new things happen, such as the most recent COVID-19, the COVID case, for example, you might have to go through further studies and professional development to gain adequate knowledge for you to successfully perform your duty. Because without constant trainings and sharpening up of your skills, you might become obsolete. You might be going to the court and all these new laws and common criminal cases that have just popped up for the recent years. You might not understood anything that they were talking about, or if there are a new system that you log into your agency. If you don't go through all this professional development, you might end up not understand how to work with your agency when you are assigned to different jobs. If you don't go to professional development, you wouldn't understand the most up-to-date recommended or best practice in court, in school, with the police, or in the or anywhere, or in the hospitals. So professional development, constant learning is what keeps you in the market. The more you understand, the more you're willing to learn, you are in a better position. The more you will become useful to your clients, and you can get more business. So professional development, you have to always make sure you have the skill, the relevant skill, relevant lexicons, and that's what keeps you in a job. And not only in theory, not only in knowledge, also in work practice. As a translator or interpreter, according to NATI's requirement, I need to have at least 30 on-site or telephone jobs of interpreting, and at least 30,000 words of translations on whichever direction I'm certified with. Why? Not that they try to make your life difficult. It is the aim of this requirement is to make sure you actually do utilize your skill, do engage with the broader community, so that you can actually sharpen or use your language skills, use your translation interpreting skills on a constant basis, so that you wouldn't forget, and you can make yourself remain relevant to your client's need. Without such, it is the matter of time you become obsolete. It is the matter of the time that you eventually one day you realize that you're not up to the requirement to perform your service. So that is the importance of professional development. And next one is in regarding to professional solidarities. This is particularly, it's actually about you and other colleagues. Okay, solidarity, yeah, like you always work together in a team. Not only so, although in a way you're competing for jobs, competing for business with other translators and interpreters. However, nowadays in 21st century, in today's society, you cannot work by yourself. You have to work in professional solidarity. If you are at the courts translating or interpreting, and your colleagues is having trouble understanding one or two concepts, never hesitate to help out. Always write down a little note, hand it to him or her, saying that this is what this word means. Do not sabotage anyone by raising your hand to the judge and say, Your Honor, I think my colleague, she or he is not interpreting properly. He or she is making a mistake. Always try to help your colleagues out. Maybe during recession, you can always go to your colleague and say, hey, what you said there wasn't that accurate. From my point of view, it should have been this meaning. Maybe you should try this. And I tell you, this is very interesting one. VCAT, the Victorian Civil and Administrative Tribunal. So VCAT, this case, it's about resolving, civil dispute. Okay, maybe your contractor was building your house, and you think that he is not doing a good job, or maybe you purchase an item, this phone, for example. I purchased this phone, and then there's some default, and then I said this default should be covered by the warranty, and the seller saying that it is not, covered, and you had a dispute. So of course, you go to dispute resolution center. However, if you couldn't sort out via mediations or discussion, you can always go to VCAT, where a member of VCAT will make a judgment on, whoever is at fault or whoever is entitled to compensation. And if someone is entitled to how much, is it full compensation, or is it the plaintiff, that's the applicant for the VCAT case, was this person also partially at fault? Okay, so this is a VCAT. And I was at VCAT once. This is very funny, okay? It was about a building default, okay? A fault in the building. And then there are, of course, a lot of technical aspects of the building. And my clients, I was interpreting for the builder. He was a Chinese builder. Okay, or he was of a Chinese background who doesn't speak much English. And my client, to the other side, the applicant, I was interpreting for the defendant. And then the applicant had another colleague of mine. She's an interpreter, professional interpreter. She was a lady. And before the whole tribunal began, the lady, I think was the wife of the owner, she all of a sudden spoke to the member and said, "Oh, sorry, Your Honor, I think it looks like that my interpreter, she's a lady, and I think there are so many technical part or mechanic part related in today's case. So I think a gentleman, a man, would know this better. He will understand this technical aspect of this case better. So may I suggest that we should rely on this gentleman when we do interpreting?" And this is immediately a slap on the face of my colleagues. Although she's a lady, but she could be well trained. She might have knowledge and training on all the buildings, on all the technical aspect of building default or anything. She may be much better than me. I don't know how many years she's been in the industry, but she's definitely at least equally well trained as I am. So at this point, what I chose to do was I raised my hand to the member of the VCAT and I said that, "Look, madam, I believe that my colleagues and I, we went through the same adequate training, and I'm pretty sure that she could do just as much a good job as I am. So don't worry about it. I think we can fully rely and trust on my colleagues." And this immediately, allows everyone, including the clients, to understand that these colleagues of yours are at least just as competent as you are. So do not try to think that, "Oh no, hey, look at me. Oh, even her client is thinking that I'm better than her, so I probably should be, proud of myself. I should be maybe I should do, I should actually just take over the whole process and interpret for everyone." First of all, you're buying yourself trouble. Okay, you have to talk double as much as you should say. Secondly, this is a breach of professional solidarities. So whenever you see your colleagues needed help, or if your colleagues is under unfair attacks, you should always protect your colleagues and try to speak up on their behalf. So, well, at the same time, maybe one day I am the one who's being attacked by my colleague's client, saying that I'm not good enough. My client might say that, "Oh, this guy, he's not good enough." Maybe I was involving in maternal child health case, and then the lady was saying that, "Oh, man is not as good with babies and pregnant women, and I think I should use a lady." Oh, by the way, unless there's an accident, usually the maternal child care ward, they will always ask for a lady to be the interpreter. But there are so many cases. There were just so many cases where I was engaged by the clients and I was interpreting for the pregnant woman, which sometimes could be a bit awkward, but I did it. It was fun. I understood most of the words. There might be a few jargons that I have to use my phone to check out what the meaning of it, but I did okay. I was a man. I was totally fine with dealing with all the gynecologists and about the midwife. I could do that. I understood. So, but if the client was saying that, okay, because he's a man, he might not understand anything to do with maternal child care. He would never give birth to a baby, so I don't think he's a good candidate. And my colleagues, this time, she can always stand out and say that he was just as well trained as I am, just as well experienced as I am, and I have I trust him. He could do the job. And you, as an interpreter, should always never take credit, never think you're better than your colleagues. Whenever your colleagues was under attack, of course, if you know he or she is doing terrible things, like it's an obvious breach of professional conduct or confidentialities, well, you don't defend them. But even if in this case where you know your colleagues have done something wrong, you should always go to your colleagues and tell him or tell her separately, where no one hears you saying that you should have done this and that, or you should suggest, I think if you do it this way, it will more align with the code of ethic and professional conduct. Never think that by making your colleagues look bad will make you look good. No, actually, it's a breach of professional solidarities. Whenever you see someone needs help, whenever you see your clients is missing out on a word, don't understand a lexicon, being attacked by your clients, you should always help them out. By showing professional solidarity, your clients, no matter the court, the police, the hospital, or the non-English speakers, they will then realize and appreciate how professional translators and interpreters are. We are not those, crazy competition. We are not those people who are selling, doing price warfare by cutting our price and sabotaging each other to get business. No, we are professionals. Lastly, this is to do with employment. And this is a very common thing, okay? It happens to me several times. I would like to talk about this ethical part in a real life situation. I call it gifts, tips, and favor. This one, I think, is the biggest ethical dilemma that I've been through in my career. Is whenever I work for any agency, I met the Chinese client, and he or she may fully, sincerely appreciate your hard work and think that, oh, thank you so much for your hard work. I love it. I love your work. And I think, you've done a good job. And here's a little gift for you. Oh, I'm buying lunch for you. There were cases where my client was going to pull out his card and trying to tap on the Apple machine when I was buying lunch, because he said, I'm doing a great job. That then if you accept, then you immediately automatically lose your impartialities. Of course, I would say a while later, you meet this client in some unrelated case or unrelated scenario, then you were not interpreter. You were just a layman walking on the street, and this person recognized you, your client recognized you, and offered to buy you a drink. You might able to accept, given that you know that in the future there's no chance that you will interpreting for him again. Maybe you can accept. However, as long as and after the court case will run into the afternoon and you'll be interpreting for him or her again, do not ever accept gift, favor, and money from any of your clients, because you are already paid by your agency. You were already paid by your clients ahead of time. You are not entitled for extra payment unless you're working for a private client who's willing to pay you extra money for your good job. But in some culture, the Chinese culture included, favoritism, buying you a drink, buying you a lunch, giving you a lift to the train station. These things are so commonly done that they try to influence you. They try to make a good impression of them that makes you sort of tilted into their way. And if you get into this, it subtly affects your level of impartialities. Okay? And whenever your client was driving you to your home, even sometimes, he or she will be talking about his or her case with you, and that expose you to the risk of, breaching confidentialities, telling you a lot of things that's irrelevant, unrelated to your job. So these are actually extra stress that you shouldn't be facing. You shouldn't be having all this horrible extra stress that you are having now. So by not accepting favor, by always keep a distance, by not getting too cozy with any of your clients, that actually protects you from potential troubles. And actually, I went one step further. Some colleagues say I'm extreme, but I think that actually protects yourself. Is that whenever I arrive at the court, I arrive in the hospital, even if the clerk say, that's your client there, that's your client sitting there, I immediately walk the opposite direction. I sit away from them. I don't want to listen to their so-called briefing. I don't want to let anyone sway me in any way. That I don't need them to tell me any story from their side. Anytime. All I need to do is I just wait until my turn, wait until the time when I'm being called to attend my clients. I went into the doctor's office, and I just interpret impartially. I don't need to be swayed. I don't need to be told with any prior introduction. No, because your client, no matter who it is, you know, actually under their mind, unconsciously, they're trying to influence you by talking to you beforehand. So when they talk to you, even for the sake of letting you know some information, background information, for helping you to smoothly interpret later, without even noticing it, without even knowing it, they are trying to influence you. They are trying to put their story into your head first. So to avoid that, especially in the court and police case, never ever accept any favor, accept any gift, never talk to any of your client before the appointment began. That is the best way to protect yourself against any future potential claim by the other client saying that they saw you having lunch with my adversary. I saw you having, sitting with my client, talking with him, and I suspect your validity. I suspect that you are not being impartial. And whenever that happens, you risk getting yourself in trouble. You risk getting yourself breaching of ethical conducts. You risk getting no pay. You might even have to get a pay compensation. So always, always, always keep a fair distance between all of your clients. You are yourself. Okay, so that's basically the 9 items that I would like to share about from my experience about the audit code of ethical conduct and professional conduct. So I hope you like it, and I think what I just shared actually apply to most majority of other professional as well. No matter you're a lawyer, a doctor, an engineer, these may be applicable to you as well, because I think ethics and professionalism, they actually, they apply to everywhere. If you're a professional, a certain aspect of professionalism, such as confidentiality, such as impartiality, such as professional conduct, these things are actually, should be observed by all professionals. And I hope this video actually is of help to you, to your own professional career. And I hope that this will help you. If you are a user of interpreters, I hope this will help you to understand whether, or there may be something that you might thought was okay, but actually it's not okay when you do that to interpreters, such as sitting with them and talk to them about all what you want them to say, or try to sway them towards you. That's not okay. So I hope it helps. I hope it will help those who wanted to be interpreters, who may become a future translator or interpreters. I hope it helped you, and I hope you you will find this video useful as well. So that's the end of today's video. I hope you have a great day too. Take care. Today is the first day of June. We're halfway through this year already, so I hope you enjoy the rest of this year and take care of yourself in nowadays the pandemic situation. Okay, thank you so much.